Investigators have yet to rule out sabotage in the devastating Air India crash earlier this month in Ahmedabad, which claimed 274 lives. India's Minister of State for Civil Aviation, Muralidhar Mohol.
Oh my God! What? Oh my God! It's terrorist act! That is what do we do? Oh! Oh my God! Oh my God!
We also have ICTS, the company that handles airport security, started by the fucking Shin Bet, for crying out loud. Amsterdam, home of all the cocaine trafficking. They're handling and smuggling all the drugs through US airports and airports all over the world. Israel, Shin Bet, ICTS, Amsterdam. ASML Group, Amsterdam. What else is in Amsterdam? Uber and Airbnb. All these companies are over there in the Netherlands. Fancy that. Tracking and tracing people non-stop. It's so fucking big. No one will have the gravitas and be passionate enough to tell you, wake the fuck up!
Yeah, we're at 26,000 feet. We are in a vertical dive. Not a dive yet. But we've lost vertical control of our airplane.
Cyber is a real domain of power.
Things really aren't looking good for Boeing. In my last video, I explored the idea that a software glitch caused the Boeing dual engine failure on Air India Flight 171. Now that theory is going mainstream. So former Inspector General of the DOT, Mary Schiavo, also believes that this could be a possibility.
G'day, ladies and gentlemen. It's Brendan O'Connell on the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. We're going to talk about a very important issue, and that is the Boeing uninterruptible autopilot, the subversion of Boeing and Israel's direct control on everything. By understanding what I'm about to read to you by Chris Bollin, it is very easy to tell who is a truth teller, who is alternative media, and who is a little whore pretending to be the alternative media. Whitney Webb is number one whore bought and paid for. She's socialist green left. She's part of a political movement based down here in South America. It's in Mexico. It's right through. It's KGB. It's old school Russia, Israel operation in Mexico, Central and South America. Full. And they're all directly involved in the politics. They're running political movements, and Whitney Webb is a part of that movement. It's got nothing to do with exposing Jewish power. We can tell that because she did 1-2 good interviews on Telpiot program with Rick Wiles, and no one can find them. I dare you to find me the interview she did with Rick Wiles. I dare you. I can't find them, and I can't find my copies. They have disappeared from my cloud backup and my laptop. Gone. They've been gone for about over 2 years. Can't get a copy. This is all you need to know. Once you understand Chris Bollin and Monte BELGER.
Yes, sir, if I could, and I will be very brief. You've introduced the four of us, and we will do our best to try to put in perspective our thoughts about the FAA's performance on 9/11. As you said, on September 11, I was the acting deputy administrator of the FAA. I was on duty that day in my office and was obviously very much involved on that day. Let me make just a couple of remarks, if I could.
Belger, as acting deputy administrator for air traffic services and system operations, was the key man at the FAA making the executive decisions about these computer upgrades, as the New York Times of June 7, 2001 reported. The aviation agency is installing a computer system that controllers can use to determine whether airplanes can depart from established traffic lanes and fly long distances, and whether they will conflict with other airplanes by doing so. Belger was the key decision-maker at the Federal Aviation Administration, responsible for the software and computer upgrades that involved P-Tech. After he left the FAA, Belger became the vice president, government connection, of a small Israeli-run company based in the Fort Lauderdale area called U.S. Aviation Technology. The company was founded by Ehud Udi Mendelson, who described himself as a captain in the prestigious Army Intelligence Unit of the Israel Defense Force. Mendelsohn, age 51, was Chief Technology Officer of U.S. Aviation Technology, which was apparently based out of his apartment in Parkland, Florida. Mendelsohn's company promoted a remote control system that allows a ground pilot to monitor and adjust the computer flight systems on aircraft. As his company presentations say, "We put the ground pilot in the cockpit." The software and system promoted by Mendelsohn is designed to obtain real-time data from the aircraft's computer recorders in order to monitor flight systems and make corrections, if necessary. The possibility to remotely hijack a plane with this system is obvious. Mendelsohn also promoted a flight data animator, which he said gives the ground pilot all of the data and the visuals that the pilot and the aircraft has. In the 2 online presentations of this equipment, it was stated that corrections could be made by the ground pilot to avoid an accident or situation. The data is sent via satellite to an antenna on the top of the aircraft. This software and equipment allow a remote pilot to fly the aircraft.
I'm at the airport in Narita. Do you see? That's the plane I'm getting on. See on top of the roof? Is that real-time telemetry to satellites? It's not just the internet. I think that's real-time telemetry to like that ICTS, that continuous telemetry for the aircraft, so it transports all the air data in real time. So if they lose the black box, they've still got all the air data, but it also allows takeover of the aircraft. I'm going to investigate this a little more. These names that you've never heard of because no one talks about Chris Bollin anymore. You will understand Air India. You will understand the crash in Washington with the helicopter. You will understand how this technology is openly talked about, but Whitney's not going to tell you. It's very hard to get across to newbies. I've been at this 30 years. I'm in the air. This is Brendan O'Connell, the bell tower boy, in Tehran, the head of the funeral procession for former President Mr. Rafsanjani. I was there when it all started and the internet was truth. So I understand what organic food tastes like. You don't. You're a fucking noob. Anyone comes along and goes, Israel bad, Jews bad. Everyone goes, rah, and they just cross-promote each other, and that's the way the whoredom keeps going. So let's start reading. What I've done is, this is the AI transcription. So one of the wonderful things with this software, get a transcript up, it'll go and find the transcript, and I can keyword search and I can find stuff. Now we're going to talk about Monte BELGER at the FAA. This is fascinating. This is Chris Bollin's amazing work, who did 9/11. I'm going to read to you right now. This is Monte BELGER. It's going to explain to you the remote software capability to remote control aircraft, how they're in the FAA computers. We're going to talk this guy, Amit Yoran.
Congressman, yesterday was the anniversary of the USS Liberty, where Israelis killed lots of U.S. Navy men. Now we're going to put the Pentagon cloud in the hands of the same government. Can I give you the flyers that I wanted for her to have? You know, the last time that cyber was put in the hands of Israeli nationals was in the run-up to September 11th, when Amit Yoran, the Israeli national who was sheep-dipped in the U.S. Army, was put in charge of the Pentagon cyber infrastructure. Are you aware of that?
This guy right here, Amit Yoran, West Point graduate. We're going to talk about him, his brother. This just one guy. There's thousands of them. Unit 8200 Telpel program. Thousands of them. Then we're going to show you there's James Corbett at a 2012 conference in Kuala Lumpur where they indicted George W. Bush. The word Israel was not said ever. There's James Corbett, the fraud with they're all the same. They are all the same. All Soros. You know, if I'm here selling myself as I'm fighting organized crime, I have to name Bugsy Siegel. I have to name Meyer Lansky. But I work for them. These people are all the same. This is the Soros Foundation movement. This is the left arm of the Rothschild right and left game. That's what they are. And they're all through Central and South America, all through Mexico, fucking everywhere. That's why Whitney Webb's down there in Chile. She got nothing to say on Julian Assange's long-term association with the KGB. The fact that Julian Assange said anyone who believes 9/11 was a conspiracy is a fucking retard. They both said it. Him and Snowden. Both said it. Both of them. There's no conspiracy. What more do you need to understand Whitney Webb? What did Ryan Dawson tell me when I got back from Iran? If you don't stop your Christian bullshit, no one's going to speak to you. That's that whole crew of atheists / young communists, young global leaders. That's what they are. Now they're all heroes. They've all been propped up and cross-promoted, but they won't tell you the truth. They wouldn't tell you about Russia and Israel hand in hand, Bibi and Vladimir Putin hand in hand. Wouldn't say a fucking word. How do you even do that and have any credibility? So we'll do. This is a reason you don't know who Chris Boleyn is. There's a reason for that. Let's read this article. This is good old Eric Huffschmidt. Okay, let's read this article before we get in. This is going to be very long, but it's going to be well edited. And listen to this. Israelis hold keys to the NSA. Critical U.S. government and military computer networks using Israeli security software by Christopher Boleyn, 15th of June, 2006. The most critical computer and communications networks used by the U.S. government and military are secured by encryption software written by an Israeli codebreaker tied to an Israeli state-run scientific institution. Photo. Amit Yoran, the Israeli cybersecurity czar, appointed by George W. Bush in 2003. Yoran has held previous positions since the 1990s in which he oversaw computer security for the Department of Defense computers. Although he and his brother reportedly grew up in Pound Ridge, New York during the 1970s and 80s, the heads of the Jewish community told America Free Press that they had never heard of him. One said that she had conducted a survey of the Jews living in the small village of Pound Ridge in the 1970s, and she would have remembered if a wealthy Israeli family named Iran had been found.
Although he and his brother reportedly grew up in Pound Ridge, New York during the 1970s and 1980s, the heads of the Jewish community told AFP that they had never heard of him. One said that she had conducted a survey of the Jews living in the small village of Pound Ridge in the 1970s, and she would have remembered if a wealthy Israeli family named Yoran had been found. Why did the locals in Pound Ridge not remember the Yorans? Probably because they were not in Pound Ridge. But in Israel, the Pound Ridge address was used to give the appearance that the Yorans were Americans. I spoke with Elad, and he has a distinctive Israeli accent, not what you would expect for a guy who grew up in a posh Yankee village. So who are the Yorans? Who are their parents, and why did they come to the United States? To raise a couple high-level moles to infiltrate the most sensitive U.S. computer networks. How could they have lived for 20 years in Pound Ridge and not be remembered?
With what you know about Unit 8200 and Telpiot program, which no one says Telpiot program anymore. It's the key. High-level CEOs. They're all Israelis, they're all Jews. Every last one of them. If you want to understand why you can't rid yourself of this parasite, the parasite is deeply embedded with your critical infrastructure. And Whitney Webb would not tell you. She wouldn't tell you. She said, there might be an election guard with Microsoft. And people in Facebook and stuff. No. They're in everything from your telecommunications to your water to your oil and gas, industrial server chips.
Okay. I have a national security question that has economic implications, and I want to give you and your campaign
Tell me who you are.
My name is Jeremy Roth-Gushel. I'm with We the People and our press functions as defined under the First Amendment. Okay. This issue right now, the Jedi...
Very quickly, because we got to run.
Okay, the
really
Pentagon is about to outsource cloud security to the top levels of Israeli military intelligence, which has been compromised for years by the Russians and then prior Soviets. Microsoft has put its cloud security in the hands of Adalom, which has been started by 3 Talpiot program members, the highest levels of Israeli military intelligence. Do you have any concerns about putting our Pentagon entirety of all of our data in the hands of a potential foreign government and also back channel to potential Russia and China?
So I've been on the Armed Services Committee now for 10 years, and I can tell you that we take national security very seriously, and we are aggressively looking out for how we have to be cyber secure. And this is an issue I will look into, I will delve into deeply to assure that we are not beholden to any other country and that we are not at risk by any other country.
Just do it! Just do it!
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you.
Chip design, you name it, they're in there. After you've heard this, you ask why Whitney Webb. Whitney Webb's about to disappear, I promise you. She's going to leave because the heat's going to come on her. People are going to wake up and they're going to be very pissed off. The National
Security Agency, NSA, the U.S. intelligence agency, with the mandate to protect government and military computer networks and provide secure communications for all branches of the U.S. government uses security software written by an Israeli code breaker whose home office is located at the Weizmann Institute in Israel. A Bedford, Massachusetts-based company called RSA Security, Inc., issued a press release on March 28, 2006, which revealed that the NSA would be using its security software. U.S. Department of Defense Agency selects RSA Security Encryption Software was the headline of the company's press release, which announced that the National Security Agency had selected its encryption software to be used in the agency's Classified Communications Project. RSA stands for the names of the founders of the company: Ronald L. Rivest, Adi Shamir, and Leonard M. Adelman. Adi Shamir, the lead theoretician, is an Israeli citizen and a professor at the Weizmann Institute, a scientific institution tied to the Israeli defense establishment.
Ladies and gentlemen, all of this anti-Israel sentiment. Just remember, though, that Israelis warned me about this years ago, over a decade ago, well over, and the Israeli press has been screaming. Remember that. So once you understand they're in everything, do you understand their power and why Whitney Webb wouldn't tell you? Could you imagine going into this subject and Epstein and technology, and you fail to mention Zohar Zisapel? You fail to mention core coding in Microsoft Israel. You fail to mention Intel research and design at their fabs in Kattegat, Israel. And you seriously think this woman is a liar? She is not mistaken. She's not unfortunately caught up. She's not scared for her kids. She is one of them. You've got to stop this bullshit of making excuses. Someone is screwing your wife. You try to tell, hey, your wife's screwing around. He doesn't want to know. It's too much for him.
My main area of research is cryptography, making and breaking codes. Shamir's web page at the Weizmann Institute says, "It is motivated by the explosive growth of computer networks and wireless communication. Without cryptographic protection, confidential information can be exposed to eavesdroppers, modified by hackers, or forged by criminals." The NSA Central Security Service defines itself as America's cryptologic organization, which coordinates, directs, and performs highly specialized activities to protect U.S. government information systems and produce foreign signals intelligence information. The fact that the Federal Intelligence Agency, responsible for protecting the most critical computer systems and communications networks used by all branches of the U.S. government and military, is using Israeli-made encryption software should come as no surprise. The RSA press release is just the icing on the cake. The keys to the most critical computer networks in the United States have long been held in Israeli hands.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is 2006 Chris Boleyn. This is quality. This is your organic menu. This is not Whitney Webb and the 10-20% limited hangout. This is 2006, 20 years ago. He's just disappeared from view. No one will talk about Chris Boleyn.
AFP inquired with the NSA about its use of Israeli-made security software for classified communications projects and asked why such outsourcing was not seen as a national security threat. Why is America's cryptologic organization using Israeli encryption codes? NSA spokesman Ken White said that the agency is researching the matter and would respond in the coming week. American Free Press has previously revealed that scores of security software companies, spawned and funded by the Mossad, the Israeli military intelligence agency, have proliferated in the United States. The security software products of many of these usually short-lived Israeli-run companies have been integrated into the computer products which are provided to the U.S. government by leading suppliers such as Unisys. Unisys integrated Israeli security software, provided by the Israel-based Checkpoint Software Technologies and Eurekify, into its own software, so that Israeli software, written by Mossad-linked companies, now secures the most sensitive computers in the U.S. government and commercial sector. The Mossad-spawned computer security firms typically have a main office based in the U.S., while their research and development is done in Israel. The Mossad startup firms usually have short lives before they are acquired for exaggerated sums of money by a larger company, enriching their Israeli owners in the process, and integrating the Israeli directors and their Mossad-produced software into the parent company. RSA, for example, an older security software company, acquired an Israeli-run security software company named Cyota at the end of 2005 for $145 million. In January 2005, Cyota, the leading provider of online security and anti-fraud solutions for financial institutions, had announced that security expert Amit Yoran had joined the company's board of directors. Prior to becoming a director at Cyota, Yoran, a 34-year-old Israeli, had already been the national cyber czar, having served as director of the Department of Homeland Security's National Cybersecurity Division. Yoran had been appointed cyber czar at age 32 by President George W. Bush in September 2003. Before joining DHS, Yoran had been vice president for worldwide managed security services at Symantec. Prior to that, he had been the founder, president, and CEO of Riptech Inc., an information security management and monitoring firm, which Symantec acquired in 2002 for $145 million. Yoran and his brother, Naftali Elad Yoran, are graduates of the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. Elad graduated in 1991 and Amit in 1993. Along with their brother Dov, the Yoran brothers are key players in the security software market. Amit has also held critical positions in the U.S. government overseeing computer security for the very systems that apparently failed on 9/11. Before founding Riptech in 1998, Yoran directed the Vulnerability Assessment Program within the Computer Emergency Response Team at the U.S. Department of Defense. Yoran previously served as an officer in the United States Air Force as the Director of Vulnerability Programs for the Department of Defense's Computer Emergency Response Team and in support of the Assistant Secretary of Defense's office. In June 2005, Yoran joined the board of directors of Guardium, Inc., another Mossad-spawned provider of database security solutions based in Waltham, Massachusetts. Guardium is linked with Patek, an apparent Mossad cutout computer security company linked with the 9/11 attacks. Patek, a computer software company in Quincy, Massachusetts, was supposedly a small startup company founded by a Lebanese Muslim and funded by a Saudi millionaire. Yet Patek's clients included all the key federal governmental agencies, including the U.S. Army, the U.S. Air Force, the U.S. Naval Air Command, Congress, the Department of Energy, the Federal Aviation Administration, the Internal Revenue Service, NATO, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Secret Service, and even the White House. The marketing manager at Patek Inc., when the company started in the mid-1990s, however, was not a Muslim or an Arab, but an American Jewish lawyer named Michael S. Goff, who had suddenly quit his law firm for no apparent reason and joined the Arab-run startup company. Goff was the company's information systems manager and had single-handedly managed the company's marketing and all procurement of software, systems, and peripherals. He also trained the employees. Goff was obviously the key person at Patek. In the wake of September 11th, during the Citizens Commission hearings in New York, Indira Singh, a consultant who had worked on a defense advanced research project, pointed to Patek and MITRE Corp. being involved in computer interoperability issues between the FAA and NORAD. At this time, Patek's ties to Arabs was the focus, and Goff was out of the picture. Tech was with MITRE Corporation in the basement of the FAA for 2 years prior to 9/11, Singh said. Their specific job is to look at interoperability issues the FAA had with NORAD and the Air Force in the case of an emergency. If anyone was in a position to know that the FAA, that there was a window of opportunity or to insert software or to change anything, it would have been Patek, along with MITRE. The Mossad-run Guardium company is linked with Tech through Goff Communications, the Holliston, Massachusetts-based public relations firm previously run by Michael S. Goff and his wife Marcia, which represents Guardium. Since being exposed in AFP in 2005, however, Michael's name no longer appears on the company website.
Now, we need to go back to, remember Mudge Peter Zatko and the video I did called Israeli Drones Worldwide? Do you remember that? Let's go here, shall we? Let's go to my videos. These are all the best videos right at the start. Best videos ever. Here it is here, Israeli Drones Worldwide. How Netanyahu, Putin and Iran work together. Let's have a quick listen to Mudge, shall we?
Port F these both. How far are we? One's right there. Exactly. Just in front of us. Whoa. Right in front of us. Same altitude. All right. Where's the sub? Nope, that one. We got sub. Just F-13.
So what's with the allegation of new Iran tech? What's with this drone story? Now, this is Mudge Peter Zatko. You're not going to watch all of it, obviously. I did this 2018. This was an excellent video. Mudge is going to tell you how RSA encryption, the same stuff they're talking about, was compromised and nobody fixed it. And he says there's no incentive to fix it because they want to lose the technology so then they can go to Congress and go, oh my God, China's got new tech. Iran's got new tech. Russia's got new tech. We need another contract. This is profound. Maybe Whitney Webb will talk about it. Again, watch what we talk about. Now watch what Whitney Webb talks about. Okay, once you've worked out, she's a fucking fraud. There's no doubt she is a fraud. She's not mistaken. We're not fighting like 13-year-old schoolgirls over who's the most popular. She is a fucking fraud. The next step is to get fucking angry about it because there are consequences to this. Serious fucking consequences. They're so serious, if you don't think they'd plant that little bitch right there while they were trying to fuck me over when I was in Kuala Lumpur, hacking the shit out of me, asking me out to go hang out with oil and gas executives and consular officials at the W Hotel Wet Deck. It's not a joke. Oh, Brendan, there's no need to be like that. They're going to fuck you. You see, this is the game. Arming your enemies, puffing them up, and leading them down the garden path just before you blow them to kingdom come. Please consult Professor Anthony Sutton and his extensive works on Wall Street and the rise of Hitler, and his massive volumes dealing with the arming of the Soviet Union and supplying the latest technology to them, including whole factories. Let Mudge or Peter Zatko give us a little lowdown on what he has found in dealing with US defence contractors and their lax attitude to security. He has some theories about their attitude and why they continue to ignore cybersecurity issues raised by their sysadmins. This is a 2013 DEF CON lecture, 5 years ago. DEF CON is a yearly get-together of generally white-hat hackers, a lot of whom work for government agencies like DARPA and large corporations. Just for giggles, here's Mudge as well from 1998, appearing before a US Senate hearing committee on internet security. Nice haircut. The title of the talk is Unexpected Stories from a Hacker Inside the Government, a 5-minute extract. Mudge is going to strongly infer that US defence contractors are deliberately lowering their security to allow countries like Israel, Iran, Russia and China to garner defence secrets, and then that same US defence contractor goes begging for another contract from the US Congress to counter the technology they just quote-unquote lost. 5 minutes. This is actually explosive detail that should be front-page news considering Peter Zatko's standing in the cybersecurity world.
So this talk is called Game Theory's a Bitch. I was having dinner with, a lot of these stories are because I'm outside having dinner somewhere. I don't cook. I was having dinner with an old friend, and his company goes in and cleans up APT after, big well-known names get compromised, and particularly whether they're government contractors or commercial organizations. And he posed a really interesting hypotheticals because we were just shooting the crap back and forth. And he said, hey, what do you think about the following chain of events? First, RSA gets compromised. Networks defended by their tools are vulnerable, and as a result, a defense contractor gets compromised. Said defense contractor, if you look up on Wikipedia, is the one who made this really cool stealth drone. Later, a really cool stealth drone goes missing over in a, Middle Eastern state. Like, what do you think about that chain of events? I'm like, that's terrifying. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, no, for an entirely different reason. Look at it this way, I have no clue. That's a hypothetical, and there were a whole bunch of rumors about what had happened. But let's assume that you, as a country or a large organization, that your advantage is technology. You can field the fastest and the best technology, so you're ahead of everybody. That's your advantage. Newest, most advanced toys. Someone else steals some of your tech. What do you have to do? You got to replace it with newer tech, right? You got to keep your advantage. So suppose a government contractor gets some of their super tech toll, and what does their government customer actually need to do? Well, the government in that case, and this is all a game theory hypothetical, need to pay someone to make the next version so that the people who just stole it don't achieve parity, so that they're not even. They could go to some other government contractor because, of course, the one in question just lost everything. But they actually most likely won't. And here's probably why. The initial contract for very expensive research efforts can take a long time to put in place. You're talking over a year, sometimes longer than, sometimes you measure it in years rather than months. And that was part of the coolness of CFT, is that we were measuring that in days. Imagine if you're under something, sequestration is what we're under now, it can take even longer. So if a government agency wanted to start a new program to replace tech, so that's essentially starting the same program to do the same thing that you were already paying somebody to do, A, it's tough to get permission to do that, because you got to go justify taxpayer money, and well, we just gave you the money to do that. And B, when you spin it back up, you're going to have to redo a lot of work. You're going to have to redo the contracting that you already had in place. You're going to have to spin people up to speed on management side. You're going to have to respin up the tech side, and you've spent years putting that in place. So why wouldn't you just go back to the people that you already have a relationship with, already have a contract with? They already know what they lost, or maybe you know what they lost and stuff, and you can tell them because they're your customer. So you just pay them to give you the next thing. Remember, they're not financially incentivized to go fix how they were actually compromised in the first place or clean it up. Because staying with a really familiar solution or situation is comfortable, which makes us a trap that a government funding source can actually be particularly susceptible to. And you can view this on a case-by-case basis, and kind of staying with the same contractor could even make sense. But if you step back and listen to what's been talked about in the media, you may see something that's a larger picture that seems like an endless list of technologies and IP being stolen. And each time it happens, that company is in a situation where A, there's really no penalties or reprimands for it. And on the contrary, they're actually rewarded with more funding. So because their customer needs to make the next text to replace the stuff that just got stolen, to replace the stuff that just got stolen, to replace the stuff that just got stolen. So yeah, game theory is a bitch, because if you look at it this angle, and part of the neat thing about game theory is you can fall into game theoretics without realizing that you're doing it. Government contractors can actually be in a situation, or are actually in a situation, that they're financially incentivized in some places not to listen to their network sysadmins and not actually to really deal with the problem, perhaps the way with the drastic changes that need to be made.
The arms industry is estimated anywhere between $350 billion to $500 billion a year, one of the largest industries in the world, and these are all the guys, the military advisors, the generals who come here to buy weapon systems.
We annually spend on military security alone more than the net income of all United States corporations. Now, this conjunction of an immense military establishment and a large arms industry is new in the American experience. The total influence, economic, political, even spiritual, is felt in every city, every state house, every office of the federal government. We recognize the imperative need for this development, yet we must not fail to comprehend its grave implications. Our toil, resources, and livelihood are all involved. So is the very structure of our society. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes. We should take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizenry can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals, so that security and liberty may prosper together.
Government contractors can actually be in a situation, or are actually in a situation, that they're financially incentivized in some places not to listen to their network sysadmins and not actually to really deal with the problem, perhaps the way with the drastic changes that need to be made.
The leading woman's business executive in this country, according to many. And we buy billions and billions of dollars worth of that beautiful F-35. It's stealth. You cannot see it. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Better be correct, right?
Absolutely.
Marilyn, please say a few words.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. I would just say that this is a very important moment for our country, in that we are addressing what is a critical area for the aerospace and defense industry, and that is protecting our intellectual property. As has been expressed, that is a threat to us. if we have that stolen from our companies, because that is the lifeblood of our companies. And so we very much welcome this action on the part of the Trump administration and the President of the United States.
Ladies and gentlemen, I just got out of jail. Marge, legend. He was at Twitter when Musk took over and he said the Chinese are in here, the Saudis, and they fired him and got rid of him. He said they're all through back doors. Now, there's what we talk about, a bunch of 5 people in the end. 5. That was 2018 I made that with an old Zoom thing with a freaking doona over my head in a hotel room. What's Whitney Webb doing? Look at the difference. The penetration is everywhere. They're in everything. We keep screaming, they're in everything. Diane, the cat diva from Tennessee. Brandon, they're in everything. The penetration is so deep you have no idea. It's a parasite to get rid of it. It's going to take, I don't know. I don't know what it's going to take. And that they have to do a deal because all those FBI counterintelligence, FBI, NSA, Bill Binney was screaming about Israel and Variant stealing the tech. Remember?
I discovered that the programs that Ed was working on in sessionizing things were passed to the Israelis covertly by a member of NSA who later moved to NIH after this was discovered. I found out about it, so I went to the FRAC, the Foreign Relations Council, the chair, and I said, hey, this is going on. And I said, we didn't approve this. They took our software and didn't ask us anything about it. And they shoveled it off to the Israelis. So I had a meeting saying that, well, we had many more partners who were collaborating with us too, and they really are working in this effort too. They're wasting energy that we've already solved these problems. So we need to help them so they can take their resources, go do something else that might also help us all in different areas. So he agreed to that, so we did that. But the point was that after that, in 2001 and 2, 2 devices pop up on the world commercial market, Naris and Variant. The sources of 2 guys who came from Unit 8200, the Israeli equivalent of NSA, who were the ones who received our software in 1997 and 98. And it did exactly what we were doing.
So we have this.
So Hayden bought this, okay? He didn't realize what he was buying. He was buying the software, but already, all the things that he threw away, he bought commercially and paid for it through the nose.
So
could have got it for nothing.
That was 2014. In 2009, here I am getting arrested.
This is about SAS Campbell Barracks, Leon Wind, Variant. Timothy, you told me that Variant does your local and national, your local police intercepts, an Israeli intelligence front.
Pop you in the car.
Yeah, I know you are, Tim. You, Tim. I'll tell you.
Gee, Whitney, I thought you were a journalist. Don't you want to talk to me? So people compare me to people who share links. I didn't share links. I'm arrested. I'm on raid videos. I'm going to trial. I'm talking about Israeli espionage 16 fucking years ago. Not a peep. Not a fucking peep. Think about that control, because not only is the problem so severe, everyone is in deep trouble because everyone is so corrupt, and then they have to explain how this happened. Because they're going to, I love it when they call me mentally ill. I play up to mentally ill. So a mentally ill Australian guy managed to work this out, but our $50 billion a year intelligence community couldn't. But of course, they had at the grassroots. They were complaining about it decade after decade after fucking decade. That's Amit Yoran, who died apparently last year. Sorry. Late last year. Died at 54. I don't believe it for a second. You also remember, of course, the most important was good old Daniel Lewin, the first to die on 9/11. Another graduate of Telpiot Unit 8200, Akamai. He literally set up the algorithm and the service to run the internet. I cannot tell you how important this is. Him at MIT. This goes so deep. It's so deep. Do you remember when Jeremy Roth Kushel ambushed Tulsi Gabbard on Amit Yoran back in 2019, 6 years ago?
We appreciate it, but I also need to talk to the Congresswoman.
Thank you.
Congresswoman, the issue of the Pentagon cloud being put into the hands of Israeli military intelligence.
Ladies and gents, the links are below so you can read these highly detailed articles. The name Chris Boleyn will not leave their lips. Now you understand James Corbett is a plant, has always been a fucking plant. He would not say his name ever. Legendary Chris Boleyn. So we've got that great article, and that is a long article, all right? P-Tech, MITRE Corporation, everything. Do you remember this? I did this meme, this image back in 2008. That's how long I've been onto this. But let's go Chris Boleyn, which has probably one of the worst websites ever. It's so annoying. It's horrible. And he was pro-Putin. I heard that he worked it out. He thanked me for the information, and then he was too tired. He was too exhausted. Too exhausted. He's over in Sweden somewhere. But let's now go to this. This is taken from Chris Bolin right here. This is the transcript I took off. This is the transcript I took off that article.
The first rule in managing a criminal cover-up is to control access to the evidence. The second rule is to destroy any and all evidence that contradicts the official version of events.
Monte BELGER. So this is going to talk about the FAA. It's going to talk about the computers at the FAA, the radar systems on 9/11, Amit Yoran and others. You couldn't miss this. Whitney Webb deliberately obviated this. Okay? So let us begin. Monte BELGER, B-E-L-G-E-R. Listen to this. The aviation agency is installing a computer system that controllers can use to determine whether airplanes can depart from established traffic lanes and fly long distances, and whether they will conflict with other airplanes by doing so. Ding, 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 ding. Let me reread that passage. You ready? Remember Washington? I'm giving you the secret now. Control. I'm giving you the secret. That happened. BB visits a week later. Guess what he wants? Remember Microsoft Windows and all the corporates that went down? BB visits a week later. This is why it's changed. That's why they paid Trump off hundreds of millions of dollars. That's why Kash Patel and Don Bongiorno, Epstein killed himself. Yes, Epstein killed himself. All right, this is why. This is the control. I said to you, fuck COVID. It's critical infrastructure. They've got the US by the fucking balls. And Whitney Webb didn't tell you.
When I asked if his relationship with Mendelsohn had begun before or after 9/11, Guts said that he did not remember. He did, however, have a very clear recall what Mendelsohn's company was all about: real-time access to all the data from the computer system on an aircraft. Guts said that he had a hard time understanding what was proprietary about Mendelsohn's U.S. aviation technology. He asked me to send him an email with my questions and the scope of my article. In my email, I explained that, as he was listed as a vice president of U.S. aviation technology on the company's website and on that of Israel Venture Capital, I asked how and when he had gotten involved with Mr. Mendelsohn. He wrote back on January 26th and asked me to enlighten him a little more on the focus of my work in this matter. It is worth noting that Guts did not deny being a vice president of the company, but he was not forthcoming with information about his relationship with Ehud Mendelsohn. If Guts was confused about Mendelsohn's system, he certainly does not show it in his comments that are found on the testimonial page of U.S. Aviation Technology, where he wrote, "I have reviewed your proposed integrated aircraft early warning system and believe it has considerable technical merit. During my years at the National Transportation Safety Board, we were greatly concerned about the increasing complexity of airplane accidents. Advances in safety, ground proximity warning devices, TCS, etc., have virtually eliminated certain types of accidents and have forced a greater reliance on the flight data recorder. In a number of accidents, particularly those over open water, TWA Flight 800, Egypt Air, Swiss Air, etc., the investigations were seriously hindered until the boxes were recovered. In the tragic events of September 11th, 3 of the 4 FDRs were destroyed, so no data or voice recordings were recovered. Your system of real-time downloading of aircraft data meets a very real and pressing problem. Not only is it important from a safety and security standpoint, it also has applicability for navigation and flight management. A robust two-way data pipe from the aircraft to the ground and back could revolutionize the industry. The key to your system is its initial simplicity, relying on tested, almost off-the-shelf components. That your concept is well on the way to securing a patent further strengthens your proposal. I look forward to working with you on this project and believe that with the appropriate backing, it will be successful. Peter Guetz, former NTSB Managing Director.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is just a taste of Chris Bolin. The links are below. Now, Chris Bolin now compared to Whitney Webb and James Corbett. Then it's just a joke. Whitney Webb with Katie Halper's talking about techno-fascism. The United States is got by the balls by Israeli/Jews, Jewish power, Hofjuden from out of Europe, Germany and France, the House of Rothschild. No one should be going online being touted as a truth teller who cannot have in one breath, one sentence, Rothschild, City of London, Kissinger, Soros, roundtable groups, Club of Rome, Cecil Rhodes, think tanks, foundation system like George Kaiser, the George Kaiser Foundation. It's just drug money laundering through his banks and his oil and gas stuff over there in Oklahoma. And there he's bragging about who's bringing in all these Unit 8200 people into the University of Oklahoma. That's just one state. They've got them in every fucking state. All fucking Jews, all fucking America at the highest levels in Armani suits. Amit Yoron, everything. When I say everything, I mean everything. Look at Zohar Zisapel, telecommunications, government VoIP encryption, the military. It's everything. Now, Winnie Webb's never going to tell you about Zohar Zisapel. Do you know how many times we dumped link after link, image after image on her X and her Twitter? People were emailing her stuff saying, this is from Brendan O'Connell. Boom, never hear from her again. Talking to her for 6 months. I don't know what to say. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Amsterdam. We have ASML, that incredible business machine that make the machines that make the machines. We also have ICTS, the company that handles airport security, started by the fucking Shin Bet, for crying out loud. Amsterdam, home of all the cocaine trafficking. They're handling and smuggling all the drugs through US airports and airports all over the world. Israel, Shin Bet, ICTS, Amsterdam. ASML Group, Amsterdam. What else is in Amsterdam? Uber and Airbnb. All these companies are over there in the Netherlands. Fancy that. Tracking and tracing people nonstop. It's so fucking big. No one will have the gravitas and be passionate enough to tell you, wake the fuck up. They are lying to you, that fucking little whore bitch and the rest of them. Colbert, that faggot in fucking Japan. Wake the fuck up and get angry. God help us. This keeps up. If they won't name it and tell the fucking truth, we can't fight it. Mary Silver's waiting for an interview from someone, anyone who's not a lunatic. Can't get one. Can't get one. This is bad, ladies and gentlemen. They're building up to something. And she fucking knew Whitney Webb would be down in Chile. Don't you think I'm joking? I can't wait till it happens. How's it all working out for you? Still think it's a 13-year-old schoolgirl fight, arguing over who's the cleverest? I got my links and you. Yeah, it's serious now, is it? You're hungry. You got no water, but you got an Israeli app on your phone to get your food rations and all the rest. Donald Trump saved us all. Fuck. I'm trying to get you angry. And everyone around her. And maybe they'll either fuck off or they'll tell the truth. Until that time, and you just keep playing games, I don't know what to tell you. I'm being deliberately provocative. Deliberately. To try and get you to get angry. You can't get angry because you're scared, because you know the time has come. Have a great day. F. Scott Fitzgerald, quote, "The test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposing ideas in the mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function. One should, for example, be able to see that things are hopeless and yet be determined to make them otherwise. This philosophy fitted on to my early adult life when I saw the improbable, the implausible, often the impossible, come true."
What is our common bond truly? Freedom. Freedom. Without freedom, you can't be a Christian no matter what denomination you belong to. You can't be a Buddhist. You can't own a donut shop. You can't drive from here to Oregon. You can't be an American because that's what it's all about, and that's the only thing that it's all about. Nothing else. Nothing else. It's about freedom.